Greetings. Greetings. I am live, yes. And I'm Mark, your host, with the Anyone Can Farm Experience live chat, Tuesday night edition. And today is January 2nd, 2024. And I'd like to welcome you all. Oops, got an earbud in. Don't need that. Didn't make any difference. And it looks like we're good. Looks like everything is running here. Says I'm live. Doesn't say anything about the chat. Imagine that we come back from the new year or in the new year and things are different. That happens all the time. Things change, in the internet things. All right. We've got somebody joining us. Great. And it's Dion Stumpo. All right. Happy New Year to everybody. Got a lot happening. Some things have come into my mind, that I want to share. This morning for me was a completely exciting beginning, of my work here in the new year. Yesterday, over the week, the holiday week, my two sons that are in the military were home, so we were tied up with them, doing things and reminiscing and spending time together and having fun and stuff. And I took Keith back to the airport yesterday, and tomorrow he reports to Fort Benning for jump school. So he's looking forward to jumping out of perfectly good airplanes, which to me was a showstopper. I did not want to do that. I saw guys doing it and I thought, no, that's not me. I couldn't do that. But he can, so I'm glad that he's going to. And then Sam left about 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and he's made it back to his base down at Andrews. And I think he starts work tomorrow. So he had a few days off, which was good. All right, so I've had a thought process taking shape in my mind, and a lot of it came to me over this week, right? And I want to see if I can put it into words as best I can, and kind of expound on it a little bit. If you had talked to me this morning, say 9 o'clock, you'd have got an earful for sure. And I went out and I was doing my work, and I had to come in and talk to Jill. Like, I've had a revelation, and I don't want to say that it was a burning bush moment or anything like that. I don't know. Who knows? All right, the clerics are with us too. Right on. But things come into your mind, and then all of a sudden, you may get answers to some things that you've been looking at that haven't quite felt right. And it started off this morning. It was shortly after I got out of the ice bath out here. That's a tremendous thing, by the way. It really is a tremendous thing. Got out this morning. Wasn't able to get out yesterday because I was taking Keith to the airport. But this morning I went out and there was a half an inch of ice on it. So I had to break it and get right in. And lately I've been staying in for a little bit longer than I have in the past. So I'm somewhere around 2 minutes and a half. And I basically get out because I get bored, right? And I think, well, that's enough. They say you should stay in about 11 minutes per week. I don't know how they know that, but they know all kinds of things, don't they? But anyway, I get out and I come in and I, get myself ready to go out, and I'm really on. And just my mind starts to go, and I start to look at the projects that I have going, and there's what I need to do there, and there's what I need to do there, and my manpower issues, I worked through those today, and I started to think about the problems that face us in the new year. And I have a good friend locally here, and his wife put up something like, God, please help us through 2024. And that's been echoing in my mind, you know. And in some ways, I feel like this callous, just brutal warrior, that just blazes a trail, and the hell with you if you can't take it. And that bothers me, that I seem to have at times zero compassion, zero compassion. So that imagine that statement rings in my mind, because I almost want to reach out and say, hey, we'll hold your hand through this. I know that. But where does that come from? It comes from probably our phones. They talk about us being cyborgs, like we're partly machine going through in our brain, like we could have a back tooth that's actually all the technology that's in a phone, and we could listen to podcasts without anybody knowing, right? And I'm not sure that that's not happening anyway, right? So there's this programming that seems to be happening, and I've noticed a lot of fear, a lot more now than before. Um, I could come on and say, well, this doesn't look good, what's going on in Europe right now. And um, it lines up with some things that have happened in the past, and, all that stuff. But I think that you can get paralyzed with fear and not take care of business. I think that can happen. And I believe that is happening. And, on this chat, hey, Jay-Z's with us, right on. We get together and talk about something that we have in common, and that is homesteading. So for some reason, the people that come here have sort of a vacuum in their heart, I guess, or their being. And when they become self-sufficient, it fills that void. It fills one of those voids. And uh, we haven't had many people that get in, or any that I can think of, that get in and then say, oh no, this is not for me, and they jump out, or this is too hard, and they jump out. I haven't seen that. I've seen that a lot in the Mangalitsa business. People who are not in the farming business get convinced that a Mangalitsa pig is the silver bullet to a farming operation, and they get them, and then all of a sudden people aren't banging their door down to buy them from them, and then they get out of Mangalitsa. I've seen that happen a lot of times, and I think it's because the expectations that are put forward by people that are trying to corner the market somehow. I think they are marketing to people like this is the silver bullet, and I don't think that's true. I know that's not true, because I've been farming for quite a while now, and really the silver bullet is hard work and determination. That's the silver bullet. If you have those things, you can succeed in this business. And with those things, you will seek out truth. You will seek it out, and you will know truth when you see it. Okay. So the title of our program tonight is Holding Your Own Value. Holding your own value. So let me tell you what I mean by that. Let's say that you value something. Okay. You've been convinced that something is valuable. If you listen to homesteading podcasts, which I don't do it all the time, believe it or not. And I'm big into homesteading, because a lot of the homesteading channels, when I go to them, it's like it's missing something. I mean, I'm here to get some information, and I'm getting fluff. I'm getting, well, I shouldn't call it fluff. I shouldn't call it fluff. But it is not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for, okay, how do you do this? What's the best way to do this? Here's something else you can do on your homestead that's going to give you a real edge. That's what I'm looking for. And sometimes I hear about, oh, did you know that there's UN troops that have been seen coming through the Canadian border? Oh, you know, and a lot of these guys, uh, I consider them compatriots and patriots and preppers and all that stuff, all good stuff, but it might not be what I'm looking for. I'm not slamming anybody. It's just what I am looking for. So if you do listen to those channels, a lot of those channels will say, oh yeah, and you should have gold on hand. You're going to want to buy gold. And here's the company you want to buy gold from. It's funny, none of them companies that sell gold have ever approached me and said, do you want to sell gold for us? Do you want to sponsor our thing? They never have. And I've almost thought to myself that, what am I doing wrong? What am I doing wrong here? How come these guys don't want me to talk about gold and silver and then maybe give me a little on the side? Because I think that the how-to business or the attitude business towards homesteading is pretty darn important. As a matter of fact, it's what I do because I could do whatever I want to do at this point. I can do whatever I want to do. I've kidded you guys and I've said, I think I'm going to get that shrimping boat after all and sell the homestead here. It's worth a whole lot more money than it was when I bought it. And I can get me that shrimping boat and head down and, the rest is history. Bubba Gump. Excuse me. But I never have done that because for me and the situation that I'm in, that I think a lot of you all are in, this is the best place I could be. I could cash it in and go back to school and maybe even get a PhD in something and then go to work for some big company. And then they'd probably be throwing the dollars, right? They'd be stuffing dollars in the mailbox. But when I've looked at that, I mean, I was in a situation like that. When you are in the military for 20 years and you're there's many career fields that there are contractors that are looking for you and they pay big money. And we had a good hot situation going on at the time that I retired, and they pay good. They pay, but I knew even at that point, even though my wife and I struggled financially when we were in the military, well, did we? I mean, we didn't have the things that I saw that they had on the commercials on TV. Those guys got that stuff. How come I don't have that stuff? I mean, we always had 10 and 15-year-old cars and all this stuff, but we were very happy. But there was this make-believe void that was being shoved down our throat that, you could have it all. You could have that Corvette. I kid around about that. I don't really want a Corvette. Actually, I had a friend that gave me a Corvette. He said, you can have it. Drive it home. I don't want it anymore. 1977, Danny Amarillo. I'm not kidding. He said, take it home. I don't want it anymore. It was a good one. I took it around the block and I thought, this will make it home. And I came to my senses and I didn't do it. So I use it as an example of the things that you're told that you need. You need that Corvette, I mean, there I would be with a blonde beside me, and I don't know. It's just a commercial thing that they do. But even though we were we didn't have a lot of disposable income, probably none. It forced us to become innovative. And that's when we moved out of town, got a small place a ways from town, and where we could have a big garden. And then we could take Jill's horse from this place we were boarding it, and it could come to the farm. Just a 13-acre little place. But then it was like, well, we might as well get some chickens because we're here. And there was a chicken house there. So we did. Now we have eggs. And then I stopped at the feed store one time, and they had little wiener pigs, and they were $30 a piece or $20 a piece. And I got 3 of them. And then we started feeding them. And then, we took them to the butcher and got them home. And wow, look at all this great meat that we have. And we started to notice that we didn't need a lot of money because we were kind of tied up with our little farming operation, our little homestead, and we were having fun. And then we got forced into a situation where we had to butcher our own pigs. There was the guy that was doing them for us was real tied up because another place had burnt down. Another butchering place had burnt down, and he's a good friend of mine. And he had a lot of extra work, so he gave me some of his old equipment, just tables and stuff. And I had a little building, and we built a little butcher shop in there. And it started really clicking. I was selling pigs to people at work. We would butcher them at night, sell them to people at work. We started making extra money, and I started thinking, I like doing this. And anyway, it went from there. We got here, but let me explain something before I get to that. Now, I was in a place at the time, and I think several of you are in that place because I know these people, right? And what you did during the day, your day job or your straight job, there was a lot of untruth involved in that. A lot of untruth, like really not true. Certainly what I was doing, there was. And I don't mean that the mission of the Air Force was fake. I mean, there was a lot of times when there was a better way to do things. And the last thing you wanted to do was to say, hey, maybe we ought to. No, you don't want to do that. And you find that you learn that, and you learn the quicker you learn to just do it the way they do it, and go home, the better things go. And I did not learn that, I don't think, at all in my 20 years in the military. So I did not have a smooth ride. I didn't, because there was better ways to do things, and I would get irritated and, not get along, become a burr under certain people's saddle. And so that's the way that went. But, when I would leave work and go home, there was work waiting for me at home at our little farm, our little 13-acre farm in Montana, that if I didn't do that work, it didn't get done. There was nobody else. I was working one deep. Jill was stay-home mom, but we had little kids, and they weren't very functional. They were little kids. And so I had to do that work. But, there was truth in that. If there was a better way to do something, I was in a position where I'm going to just shift the way I do it. I'm going to make this better. I'm going to make this process, like I say, better than the way I started doing it. I'm going to fortify this position. I'm going to make it better. And I could. So there was this real contrast, working in the Air Force. It was just shut your mouth and get it done. Just shut up and do it, and then the other side was reality based, chicken, egg, manure, eggs for breakfast, shovel manure, feed chickens, pigs, and so on. The reality of the farm life. So I was dealing with the make-believe world, a lot of it wasn't, but there towards the end, we were going pretty darn, it wasn't called woke then. It was called politically correct. And I look back on it now, and back then we just looked at it like, this is dumb. There's something wrong with these people. They're just not right. They have a condition, but then my chain of command would be just shut up and play the game. And I remember being in a staff meeting one time. I didn't realize this was a game. This is not right, what we're doing here. This person should not be in that position, but they were in that position because they filled the squares for that. And, a lot of you know what I mean. Um, Back then, the military was traditionally men. It wasn't well, we got to give her a chance. And I remember one time, and I know I'm on thin ice with a lot of this stuff, but I don't care, because I'm going to speak truth. I remember um, my kids were going to do wrestling, and it was great fun. We were going to wrestling, and they were wrestling other boys, and they get little medals and stuff. And then all of a sudden, there was a girl there, and something didn't look right to me to see, other boys reaching down, and it just didn't look right. I was just getting a real bad feeling about it. But, we had played T-ball at one point, and it was, well, there was girls in T-ball, and okay. T-ball is a little different. This was a contact sport, and I didn't like that. And I didn't like lodge a complaint or anything. I just said to another military member, a female, a little bit less ranked than me. I think I was an E6 at the time. And I said, does that look right to you? And no clue where she was mentally on these things. But she was a female wearing a uniform. I think she was an E5 or an E4. And she said, oh, well, I want my daughter to have every opportunity that the boys have. And I thought, okay, let me think about that for a minute. Right? But it still didn't sit well. And we wound up pulling our boys out of it because of that. It was just too weird. And look where things have gone. I was a Boy Scout. I love the Boy Scouts of America. Right now, I wouldn't put my kids in there on a bet because they've skewed just a little bit off and then maintain that heading, and they've gotten worse and worse and worse. And if people don't like the fact that I'm saying this, I really don't care, because that's another part of my revelation for the new year is we have to speak truth. We have to. You may not like it, but it's still going to be spoken by me. I'm still going to speak truth. All right. So let's see, where was I? Yeah, the military was traditionally, when I first came in, it was traditionally male, and it started to go off, and a statement like, well, she should have the opportunity to go into combat just like you guys do, as if it is some sort of privilege, a privilege. You have to work very hard and be qualified and be at a place where you're not going to be a detriment to the other people that you are tasked to go and do combat missions with. And that wasn't me. I was a maintenance guy. I was never a combat troop. But being in the military, you understand it very well. And so we started to veer off, and all of a sudden we would see a girl standing at the front gate with her little M16 and pigtails hanging out of a helmet. And it disturbed me. It was very disturbing, but my bosses would say, just play the game. And I would say, well, where do you think this is going? Where do you think this is going? This is not a good look. When we would come through the gate in the morning, usually there'd be an airman out there that would be sharper than sharp, that would wave you through with emotion that you couldn't believe. And you did not look at him. You did not look into his eyes, or he may have a reason to wave you over to the side where they will climb up the inside of your leg with a microscope to wonder if you should be coming on the base. Where it changed to where they would, well, now we've got this girl that's in the squadron, and now she's pregnant. Let's put her on the front gate to show how politically correct we are. And I did not understand that. I thought the people were just making bad decisions, but it was the onset of where the military is now. And I can tell you, I've been on bases, since my kids have been in. And as far as readiness and attention to detail and things like that, it is not where I would like it to be. You're seeing guys with hands in their pockets and, unshaven and bad haircuts and stuff. And I mean, in my day, you would pull over and you would find out the name of that individual and who they work for, and you would give a call. And the NCO who answered the phone would be, "Thank you so much for calling. I will take care of it." And they would take care of it, So there was a reason for that. Everything has to look proper, because if somebody doesn't, if you see a guy on the base and he doesn't have a correct haircut, maybe he shouldn't be on the base. Maybe he's just some dude that got a uniform and is waltzing around, and maybe he's got nefarious things. Maybe he's, there to infiltrate the base and cause damage or something like that. That's why everything is done properly, right? And any NCO can see when something's out of place, and that's a good thing. And you're doing that all the time when you're cruising the base. You're looking for something out of place. And I've made many phone calls to security, like, I'm not sure what's going on here, but this looks kind of out of place. And it could be something as innocuous, but trust me, as someone having parked over a line, because why would you do that? I mean, in the civilian world, they park right on a line, but in that world, you're going to have a security policeman come out, find out who the owner of that car is, and then question that person. Why have you parked like this? What is the problem? This is not how that's just how it is in that world. So anyway, if let's say that you listen to some of these prepper channels that are selling gold, and they say to you, "Yeah, but you can buy the gold, but we'll keep it for you." Some of these companies like that, well, you send them the money, and they'll send you a picture of it, but it's in their vault where it's safe, right? So you're trading your dollars for their gold, but they're going to keep it for you. It's sort of like, let's say you have a lot of money. You've been programmed to keep that stuff in the bank because it's safe in the bank. Because somebody could break in your house and they could take your dollars. But how many times have we heard in the last year or going into 2024 that, yeah, it could be a bank holiday? And when the smoke clears, well, you won't actually have dollars anymore. You'll have central digital bank currency, SDB, whatever it's called, right? We know it's coming. That's what Bitcoin is. They've been letting us know for a long time that it's cumbersome and it's wasteful to handle these notes, and that doing it digitally would be a lot smarter, more efficient. I don't like the sound of it. I don't like the sound of it because, we're already there in some regards. If you go into a shop and you buy a cigar and you use a credit card to buy a cigar, somebody knows you bought a cigar. Uh-huh. Whoa. Oh. But with the digital currency, you know, you can get a readout at the end of the year and know everything that you bought, where you were at the time, you know, and all that stuff. I don't like the sound of that. Um, but I'm not here to say, well, let's band together and we'll call our congressman. He'll do something. You ought to know better than that. You ought to know better. Your government at this point, you should know that they give you lip service, so you'll vote for them. Is the voting system even in place? I don't know. I don't know. I really don't know. When I ran for office, I ran for sheriff. Yes, indeed, I did. Me and Donald Trump, we ran at the same time, 2016. You know, the sheriff's election and the federal election for the president happened simultaneously. So me and Don ran together. Several of the townships in my county, I got 0 votes, and my son lives in one of them. Dominion voting system, need I say more? But it turned out okay. I mean, I've been protected from a lot of things. It turns out that really wasn't where I should be. They weren't my people. I wasn't going to lead those people, you know. And I don't want to. But it was a good exercise in getting close to it and seeing how it works and knowing who's who in the zoo, if you know what I mean. I learned a lot of stuff. And am I saying I would never do it again? No, I'm not. I'm not. I believe that as a oath taker, I have a responsibility to my country. But I don't see that, me personally, I don't see that as the best place to fire my arrows right now. I think my best place to fire my arrows are with you. And I say that from you can take it to the bank. I'm being completely honest with you about that. Completely honest, because I think 2024 is going to be the year of truth. I think it is. And so, but before we go there, let me talk a little bit about value. And I'm talking to the homesteaders here. You know, I don't know if you can see this counter on here. It says that there's 9 people that are on right now. And then tomorrow sometime people listen to it and it'll go 150, 100, 200 at the most. Do I say things here that the censor people, the algorithm people like? Well, I mean, you could say you only talk about homesteading and food security and stuff like that. I mean, who cares about that stuff? That was funny. I was listening to a guy. I can pontificate a little bit on that because I heard something this morning that I was kind of worried me a little bit. There was a guy that I listen to once in a while. He's one of these guys that makes a video and he's from Norway. And boy, anybody from Norway, you better listen to them. But he's got a real nice beard and stuff. And he's usually out in the woods with a crackling fire going. And he talks about things, you know, and smokes a cigar. And he gets a ton of views. So YouTube assigns value to this individual in the form of views. His message is good, according to them. And a lot of people listen to him. So if a lot of people are listening to him, maybe you better listen to him too. And I kind of do. But this morning when I was listening to him, I'm thinking, what's his angle? Anyway, and is this view thing of any value? Like, do views equal value? I'm questioning that, you know, because for a long time, I thought, should I even do this? Does anybody even care? Nobody cares. That's what goes through my mind, because I was one in my family. I had 5 sisters, and I was the only boy. And one of the things that they would say was, "Nobody cares what you think." And one sister would be talking for all 5, plus my mother and father and everybody else in town. She would be talking for them, and she would say, "Nobody cares what you think." And as a little kid, I would be like, I guess nobody does care what I think. And some of that transferred over to, the view counter. Nobody cares what you think, Mark. Nobody cares. What do I care what they think? What do I care what they think? I care what Dion thinks. I care what Beth and Tommy DeCleric thinks. Justin Z, I sure care what he thinks. Sean Wise, I care what he thinks, right? And he tunes in, he listens. Who else is here of the 10 people? I care what you think. And I've always, even when I was wrong, I thought I was right, Sean? About not keeping a bull on the farm. I said, don't do it. But then I went and did it. At least I owned up to it, right? What a beautiful piece of meat that animal was. What a beautiful animal he was, by the way, once we butchered him. He was unbelievable. We had steaks from him for lunch today. Oh, sinful, right? Sinful. But anyway, what I want to talk about is what is valuable to you? And this is just for the homesteader crowd. What has value? When we listen to the world around us, we believe that dollars should be something that you should be concerned with. Go be a contractor working for the military, because you'll make $250,000 a year. Ooh, that's important. It would be if you ran the credit card up during your 20 years in the military and you had, $60,000 to pay off. Then it's like $250,000 is going to come in right handy here. So I better go to the desert for a while and, make that $250,000. And then, well, I'm making $250,000, 60. I can run it up a little higher and still cover it. And that is the trap that guys get in, But I got out of the military and I was in the positive, right? I didn't do the new car thing. I didn't do the credit card thing. I didn't do any of that. And it's partly because of my wife. She would get a funny look on her face when I'd say, why don't we just get a new car? And she'd get this funny look on her face. And usually what came with that funny look, I didn't like, or it detracted from my feelings for her. I guess I'll put it that way. She never said no. She never said definitely not. It wasn't like that. It was just that I could tell that it didn't fit with her. And plus, I never had a new car anyway. I never did. I'm one of those guys. Never had a new car. Never did. I just never. It never worked for me when I saw the sticker price and then what the payment was, and and this car that I got, it's not perfect, but it's working. I just never did that. I did do credit card for a little while, and that wasn't good. That got out of hand, and then I got rid of it. Totally got rid of it. I have one now, but I learned my lesson, and it's just instead of cash. But I go back and forth on that. I think that cash is probably a better way to go. But anyway, in my life, and this is what I'm trying to pass on to yuns, the things that are of value to me, and there's different types of value. There's perceived value, right? You have a $20 bill, and I'm pretty darn sure I can go get $20 worth of gas with this. I can. And is that a good deal? $20 of gasoline will take you a long way compared to $20 worth of grain to feed to your horse. right? Gasoline's a good deal. You're being told that it's not, that you're getting raped. You're really not. Go to Europe and find out how it is. I mean, I like the $1.50 a gallon gasoline. That was great. That was great. If that happens again, I'm going to load up for sure. But still, times aren't as hard as they could be as far as gasoline. There could be ration cards and you can't get gasoline, right? That could be. And that would really slow things down. Not for me, because I'm not heavily invested in travel for my work. What is, and there's a little a little flag for what I value. I value working in this environment. I value that. I value the ability to change directions instantly, change things instantly. I don't have to approach a board and plead my case for buying some new tools that I need to change directions on things or to do things differently. I can make the decision. I can travel to Harbor Freight and I can get what I need and make it happen. I can have an idea and I can execute it. And to me, that is of extreme value. But that's me. That's the type of person that I am. That's the type of person that I am. I once in the military, in the Air Force, I built a tool for adjusting brakes, right? And I used it. And boy, did I get the 3rd degree. And my position was, hey, look at all the time we're saving. Look at how much, this really makes a lot of sense. And my boss said, yeah, but you can't just go building tools like that and using them on, you can't do that. Why not? And when I got older as a non-commissioned officer and I had young guys working for me, I thought, wow, you imagine if every one of these airmen out here is building his own tools, not a good thing, although it worked. And, I got local acclaim out of it when it went up to the branch level. They were like, who do you think you are? No, no, no. Okay. So, yeah, Sean says it worked out. Nobody got hurt and lots of cabs on the way. I hope. Yep. Only animals plead dollars, not a man should plead ever. Plead. I don't get it, Sebastian. You're going to have to rewrite that or put the translation in there or tell us what lingo it is and somebody can figure that out. Okay, so perceived value is something like, let's say, a Corvette sitting in the driveway. Someone might come in the driveway and say, wow, he's rich. Look at what he's got. But a Corvette on the Homestead has limited or no use to me. And tearing around on the roads with a cool one between my legs and a blonde next to me, I don't do that. I don't do that anymore. So no value. Someone might perceive that I'm rich, but that's not what I'm not looking for putting out the perception of anything. I'm not looking for that. There is then actual value. All right. A pickup truck comes in right handy. Tom? I mean, for going to town just to show it off, it comes in handy. But no, in reality, a pickup truck has real value on the Homestead. You can haul wood with it. I did a lot of that today. You can haul tools in it. You can haul livestock in it. You can haul scrounged material, feed stock, bread, maybe in it. A lot of value. It has value to what you're doing, right? And when there's actual value in something, your money is safe in it, right? So let's say that you're able to see through a lot of the BS that's going on right now. Justin ain't going to like to hear this. I can tell you that right now. And you really want that pickup truck. You want a pickup truck bad, man. I gotta have a pickup truck. And then you go to the lot, and there's a 30-year-old pickup truck. Yeah, I don't know about that one. But then they show you one that's, gee, this one's only 5 years old. And you look at the price tag on it, and it's $25,000, and it's got rust on it. And you think, yeah, but it's nice. I will look cool in that. But this is where you got to get a hold of yourself, and you got to say, wait a minute. Let's talk utility here. If that thing is this rusted at 5 years, how is it going to be at 10 years when I get it paid off? 5-year loan, right? And how much am I paying every month? Well, $500, and you don't own it. The bank owns it, so they want full tilt insurance on it. So yeah, you're going to be better part of $900 for your car payment. Are you kidding? You know what you could do with $900 a month? The utility of $900. You know what you could do with that on a homestead? So you're getting fooled. Does that have actual value? Well, no, not that one. Not if it's costing you $900 a month to own, and then it's going to break, and you got to fix it on top of the $900. Whereas if you can find something that maybe is a little rough, but still runs good, and you can pay cash for it, now you own it. Now it becomes an asset to you, not a liability. And your money's safe in it. If you buy right, and then you put a little elbow grease into it, it's worth more than you paid for it in a couple of years. I got a pickup truck out here that I paid $2,500 for. Let's see, it was 19. It's 30. I've had it for 25 years, thereabouts. Let's see. It's a 1974. I bought it the year. I don't remember what year, but it was about the year that my son Joe was born. So I've had it for way over 25 years. And if I were to turn around and sell it today, it's a 74 F-250 four-wheel drive, Ranger package, really cool looking, sexy looking 4x4 and all that stuff. I'm sure I could get twice my money out of it, $5,000. Although, whatever, inflation and all that. But why would I? Because then I have to go find another one because I need that truck. That truck is here because most of the time we have to plow snow in the wintertime. This year I haven't plowed snow, and I don't think I plowed with the truck one time last year. I think I used a tractor because we didn't have that much snow. So anyway, that thing doesn't owe me anything, and it's appreciating. They go way down, and then they go up if you keep them in good condition. And I tell you what, you could find a truck like that for $10,000 right now, driving out to California and pick it up, or Arizona, and you bring it back here to Michigan. They don't exist out here because everything rusts. So you could make good money on that if you want to. But if you didn't want to make money, you have a good utility vehicle that maybe you can't save up $10,000 to pay cash for, but a $10,000 loan over 4 years is quite doable compared to, a $30,000 loan over 5 years. And now you've got a third party involved that says, well, you got to insure that to the hilt, Anyway, so value, actual value, perceived value, and then there's yeah, well, Justin, I wonder if your truck will last as long as mine. Because in 1974, they built stuff very utility minded. So my truck, I can take an air ratchet and a 9/16 socket, and I can have the front clip off of that thing in 20 minutes. And I can buy all new panels for it from LMC that are galvanized, and I can get the whole front clip for under $1,000 and put it on and line it all up, paint it. It would be beautiful if I wanted to do it. And I do someday. right? But I don't know if you can do that with your truck. I don't know. Maybe you can. Justin's pretty smart. He knows a lot of stuff I don't know. Okay. Sebastian's saying assets with a purpose. Right. I'm going to divert for a minute and talk about a conversation I had with my son this morning, my youngest son, and I'm trying to train these guys to think properly. Don't be dumb. Don't do anything stupid is what I try to train them. And I said, I've a lot of times used the example of mining as a business that you could get into, and you could get into on the farm. If you wanted to try out something else, let's mine for gold. Darn it. I'm sure it's out there. Well, I can go down to a facility that I own and I've put together and it's paid for, and it is a butcher shop, and I can work down there, and at the end of a shift, and the shift might be a 6-hour shift because we have chores to do here. So we don't usually not doing 8-hour shifts, usually getting chores done and then go on to what you're going to do. And in that shift, I would say we could easily push out the door 200 pounds of hamburger, right? Now, that requires that we have the cow, and it requires that we've killed the cow. We've let the cow cool. We've aged the meat. We've stripped the meat all off the bones, and then we've ground it up and packaged it and then put it in our store. But 200 pounds of hamburger, and I'm going to be tipping here, and I want to do that more, but we have to make some changes. But we're going to make those changes. But let's say you pay $8 a pound for grass-fed beef hamburger, which that's what we charge, and nobody seems to mind, times 200. Wow. In a shift, $1,600. Whereas if you went into the backyard and you started a digging and going through all that dirt, and here's a piece of gold. Found a piece of gold. And then you keep doing that at the end of the shift, unless you hit a gold strike, which you might. I'm not saying you wouldn't, but I've never heard of that happen around here. And there's plenty of digging going on, and I might have heard about it, but maybe they keep it a secret. I don't think you're going to make $1,600. And to really move some dirt, you're going to need some equipment. So let's say you go and you buy a payloader and you get, all these necessary equipment to mine for gold in a quick way, expeditious way. And you've invested $250,000 on all that equipment. And somebody's got to make the payment on that, unless you had it. But if you had it in cash, why would you do that? Why would you go mining for, just go get you that shrimping boat and head off into the sunset? But the payment on that's going to be pretty good. So what if you don't hit? What if you don't hit it? So I talk about that scenario with my kids because they see the outside world, and there's a lot of perceived value out there. I mean, I have people in my community that have really big farms, really big ones. And look at the truck that guy's driving. That's $100,000 Silverado or Denali or something like that. He seems to be doing okay. How come we don't have one of them? Well, there's something else we don't have either. We don't have a massive banknote to make that gives your mom lines on her face and your dad ulcers every month to meet. We don't have that. And again, That is of value to me. Do you value that? Well, good. Because I do too. And I think that's what we need to start looking at. What do we value? And is that why we're in this business? If we are in this business to rub elbows with Mr. Trump, you're in the wrong business. If that's what you value. If he called me and said, I'm sending a helicopter over for you, I'd say, is Melania going to be there? And then I'd go, no, I'm just kidding. I think he's a decent guy. It would be the thrill to talk to that guy and to rub shoulders with him. But I think I've talked to other great men, and at my campfire. But they don't have, jets and stuff. But I'm friends with those guys, not because of what they have. I mean, they could be driving an old pickup truck, but I'm friends with them because of there are attributes about those people that I say, I want those people for my friends. I want to surround myself with those people because that is important to me. That's of importance to me. And that right there has been bouncing around in my head. Like, there's a problem here. Do I want to be friends with everybody in the planet? I don't think I do. I really don't. I think that's not really the way it's supposed to be. Do you want to be famous? What's that good for? There's a lot more liability than asset. Unless maybe you're a movie star, then you need to be famous. But is that lifestyle something that I value? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So in this conversation with Frank, I said, we have a process going right now, Frank. And today was me and Frank's day to go out and milk. We milk in pairs, and one guy is the primary and one guy is the secondary. The secondary usually is the guy that's jugging up the milk and cleaning everything up at the end. The primary is the guy that puts stuff together, gets out there, puts the grain out, lets the cows in, and then goes to milk. And the secondary might come out and clean some cheats off. I was a secondary today, and I said, this process that we have, in 2 hours, we're going to generate 9 gallons of milk. That's what we're getting right now. We're only milking 3 cows of our 5 because 2 of them are getting ready to calf. And I said, what's the value of that milk? And I kind of think about that myself too. Like, well, I can go to Aldi's. I went there when they first opened just to check it out. I thought, if it's German, it's got to be good. So I went in there and it was weird. And the girls at the register were weird. A lot of tattoos, way too much piercing, way too much green hair, and gross in my, pierced septums, and just gross. So I never went back. But milk was like $2. So they're setting the value of what milk is. Meanwhile, my neighbors who milk cows are in austerity measures and have been for 20 years. For the work that they do, they should have a lot of disposable income, but they don't, right? So Aldi sells it for $2, and the co-op that buys the milk, how much are they getting for, so it's this make-believe world of farming that is industrial ag, because somebody is getting more than they should. Scam. It's a scam is what it is. So is our milk worth $10 a gallon? I had a lady come down here, traveled 2 hours to get here to get milk this Saturday. And it was very important that she could turn her kids loose so they could see the animals and all this. And she opined that, oh, yeah, it's way worth it to come and drive 2 hours one way to get a gallon of milk. We love the milk and we believe that there's tremendous health benefits to it. And I really wish I lived closer. I'd come way more often, but it's just tough. So if she was to put the price, the value on that milk, it would be different than Aldi's, because she's got an Aldi's where she lives too, but doesn't go there, or a Myers or Walmart or whoever. It's all the same. It's all the same garbage milk. I mean, dishwater is basically what it is. And they change it because they cook it, they pasteurize it, and so they cook all the enzymes out of it that are going to help it to break down. So that's why people are lactose intolerant, and they didn't have lactose intolerance when I was a kid. They just didn't exist. But if I drink milk from the store now, I get a tummy ache from it. Why? Because my body is saying, what do you want us to do with this? This is foreign. This doesn't have the components in it that would put it in the classification of food. Well, it's white and it comes in a milk jug. So isn't it milk? No, it's been cooked. That's like saying that a hamburger, no, maybe that's not a good. Well, yeah, let's say you have a hamburger and you put it in the campfire. I mean, in the campfire, and you leave it there till morning and you take it out. Is it a hamburger? No, you can't eat that. I mean, it's not a hamburger anymore. It's a biscuit. It's I don't know. So value. I think in the new year, I think that what I want to do is I want to assess my value. Hold on, I got a dog that's barking. I got to shut her up. Enough. Go lie down. Like, I'm not thinking that my mission is to tell you what to do. I think my mission is to tell you what I have done. And let's say that you went to let's say you went to a health coach, let's say. I actually had this happen. It was a chiropractor, actually, and I used to have sciatica, and it had happened. It had flared up, and so I knew going to medical doctors when I went. I knew out of the military. I went to one, and they gave me Vicodin, and it was good for an afternoon. My back didn't hurt anymore. So then I went, I think I'll change the oil in the 2-ton. And I think I'll do this. And I think I'll do this. I think I'll build me a new wood stove. And I did all that stuff. And then I couldn't even move the next day because all it did was cloak the damage, the pain. The pain is good. So then I went to a chiropractor, and they came highly recommended. But when I walked into the office, she was probably 200 pounds overweight and really bad posture and bad skin and bad everything, really bad attitude even. And I thought, why would I want to take advice from this person on my health? But highly recommended and all this stuff. And so I kept doing it. And until I finally wait a minute. One day I went and she wasn't there at the time I was supposed to be there. And so I cruised down the road, and I was cruising back, and there she was sitting at the McDonald's, at the drive-through. I thought, this just doesn't seem right. And at that point, I wasn't in tune to garbage in, garbage out, as far as food goes. And I thought, well, I don't eat McDonald's because I just really don't like it. And it smells funny. But I, I started to put two and two together. If you want to look like that, eat there. You eat there, you're going to look like that. And it wasn't even lunchtime. She was supposed to be seeing me. Anyway, I quit going there. But yeah. Okay. So I am going to give you advice on what I'm going to do. And I feel at this point, I know, because I get to look and I had a T-bone for lunch today. My wife made me the best T-bone that I've had in a few days. And it was from my bull. And we've learned how to age the meat. Sean Kelly helped us with that. And it was great. And so I'm able to look at that. It's in my mouth. I'm looking at it. I'm eating it. I'm hearing everybody at the table, whoa, this is really good. I'm glad we didn't just shoot Endeavor and push him in a hole, And then I got up from lunch and then I worked until just before I came in here. I had a lot of energy. My brain is going. So I know I've put good fuel in this carcass to make it run. Whereas if I did the macaroni and cheese thing, I think I'll take a nap. It just doesn't, it's not good fuel. It is not good fuel for the human body. Not for this one anyway. Maybe others can. So I'm telling you what I'm going to do. I'm telling you what I'm going to do in the new year. And in the new year, I'm looking at the processes that we have said, okay, I'd like to do this. Me and Jill, she's in on mostly everything. Mostly everything. And she's a real good helper on just about everything. Some stuff she doesn't do. She doesn't kill any of the animals. That's all me. And, I don't think she just drives a tractor and she doesn't cut the hay and stuff like that. But some stuff in the house I don't do. I didn't change diapers, but I can. I'm checked out on it. Sort of. This is left over from the holidays. I don't know how to feel about it. It's not pop. It's just sparkling water, but you kind of wonder what's in it. And whenever there's that wonder, then that brings me to my next point. I value health. When I had an injury when I was in the service, and it was a real dumb one. I jumped off of a truck, and I had a heavy equipment in a pack, and I slipped a couple inches, and came to an abrupt stop. And the next morning, we were staying out. There was actually a plane crash that happened, and we were recovering it. And we stayed out, and the next morning, I could not get out of my bunk. And it was bad work, gross work. Nobody wanted to get out of their bunk, but I could not get out of my bunk. And I was with a bunch of guys that I didn't know. And it was a terrible situation. But I wound up getting carried out of there and put in a vehicle and taken. And I got a little bit better from it, but then it never really recovered. It was a bulging disc is what it was, and it caused sciatic nerve problems, and I had this shooting pain going down my leg. And it seems like stress made it worse. And I had it for 5 years, and I won't tell you that I didn't caused my body a lot of problems because of that. Like, I abused painkillers just to function. There's no way that 10 aspirin should be going down your throat. There's no way you should be doing that. But that's what it took to get loosened up to go to work. And then lunchtime, 6 Tylenol. And then, if I had something else going on, Motrin. And then I wound up with an ulcer. And it wasn't until, just at a 5-year point, Jill and I moved out of town and we had our first farm. And I think the stress started to drop off and I started to move more. I was motivated more, started getting that farm going. And one day it was like, I don't have any pain in my back. This has not been like this. And it totally fixed itself. It went away. And that's when I realized a little bit about regenerative health. Like, just because you have a problem doesn't mean you're always going to have a problem. Your body is getting better. It's self-sealing, and so that really happened. But I had health problems, and that was bad. That was really bad. It affects your head. And I know at this point that if I eat good food, then I feel good. And when I feel good, I'm a nice person to be around. When I feel bad, I'm not a nice person to be around. And none of my loved ones love me. They all hate me. So eating good food is very important to me. And I don't know, honestly, I'm saying this to you all. This is a small group. Oh, Chief Huggins is with us. Right on, man. Stress makes a mess. Yeah. Oh, back pain after the exit for the, whoa, we should talk about that. But I really don't know where you can get clean food. And if 2024 is going to be the year of truth, then I got to be perfectly honest with you. When I hold up something like this and I don't know what's in it, how can I say, oh yeah, but this stuff's good? It's not pop. I don't even know why I have this here. Why I grabbed this to sit down and talk to you all. It must have been, I must have had a premonition. A premonition. Usually I would just get water, or milk. When I ate that steak today, I knew what was in it. I knew. The only thing that wasn't beef on that was the salt that I put on it. The Himalayan pink salt that I put on it. That comes from the Himalayas, and anything from the Himalayas has got to be good. Even though it came from Aldi's. I have no idea where it came from. It's just Jill gets it in bags. So, but do I know what's really in there? I don't. So if this is going to be the year of truth, we really have to speak bluntly about what we're throwing down our pie hole, what we're eating. We have to. And this is me. I can't, like the occasional Chips Ahoy. Can't do it. Not if I want to feel good. I'm lucky in that when I eat something that isn't good, I start feeling bad. Like, get sick to my stomach. Like, I wish I didn't eat that. I'm lucky that happens. And, at Christmas time, there was a lot of stuff here. My kids coming and their wives bring stuff, and it looks good. Of course it looks good. It came from Aldi's. Why would you buy something off the shelf that doesn't look good? Oh, this looks like crap. I think I'll buy it and eat it. No, you won't. It's got to look good. But that's deceiving. That's deception. That's marketing. They make it look good. And then, but the government says, like the USDA and the FDA, they say they got to put all the ingredients on the package. So I know the ingredients level, list is there. And so I could look at it anytime I want, even though I don't. But try it sometime. Look at the ingredients on stuff. Can you even pronounce the things that are in it? Let me just as an experiment, let's see what's in here. Total fat 0, total calories 0. Oh, well, it's got to be good. It's carbonated water and natural flavor. Well, if it's natural, it's got to be good. Yeah. If it's Smucker's, it's got to be good. See what I mean? So the year of 2024 has got to be the year of truth, and the year of truth in food. Now that means a lot. That means a lot. That's not just okay, well, I'm going to start reading the ingredients. Is that where truth lies? Is in the ingredients list? I don't know. Like what was in that vaccine that you all got? Oops, not supposed to say that word. I get censored for that. You can't say that word. Is that truth? Are we speaking truth when we can't say certain words? No. So when we really start looking at stuff, looking at the view count on here, looking at, other truth speakers that somehow their truth makes it past, the censorship gurus, the fact checkers, and ours doesn't. What the heck's going on? Does any of this even need to be spoken? I think we know this. Deep down, we know this. Okay. So one last thing that I have to talk about, and then if you guys want to throw some stuff at me, I will comment on it. I've gone over an hour. The year of information truth. Okay. I think what we are faced with, and this brings to my mind operational security, or OPSEC. I learned about OPSEC for the first time when I was in basic training. And I raised my hand. I was dorm chief, by the way, chief. I raised my hand and I gave an answer, and I was correct. And I was so afraid to raise my hand in that classroom, right? I still remember the training instructor in there. And we were talking about ops operational security and modes of communication that were safe and modes of communication that were not safe. So if I wanted to communicate something to, say, Dion, and I didn't want Justin to hear about it, this would not be the platform to do it. That would be a bad platform to use. So how could I? Well, I could use the phone, but Justin's really smart, and he's probably figured out a way to bug Dion's phone, and he's going to listen in and he's going to hear the conversation where I say things that he shouldn't hear, right? So what would be another way? And my response in basic training was, well, you could just put it in the mail. And some of the guys that were around me like, mail, like that's secure. Well, actually, it is secure, because when you mail something, the numbers of letters that go out, would the bad guys, pull this one out. Airman Baker's writing back to his mother back home. Let's see what he wrote in there. He's in a high security area there in basic training. He may be saying stuff, and we got to find out what he's saying. Probably not. It's just the sheer numbers. And I gave that answer, and I was right. And that held right to the end because I saw stuff go in the mail that I thought, wow. But if you did it in like base distribution, that's like the mail system that we use. You don't want to use that, because if our adversaries are going to target us for information, you know, getting information, getting pieces of the puzzle, that's where they would look. And it's not secure enough, right? So you wouldn't use that. Anyway, 2024, the year of truth in information. Is this platform going to work? Is it going to work? And I'm questioning that. I'm questioning, complete truth. I listen to guys who pontificate truth, and they say, well, I can't say this word on YouTube. Well, is that the place we need to be? Well, it's where you can get to everybody. So that's like the only choice you have is YouTube. Is there a better way? Is there a better way? Excuse me a minute. I got another dog in my ear. Enough. What's that noise? They're just doing their job, but they're doing it right outside my door and bugging me. All right, what do we got here? Dion is an informational kind of guy, and Dion says Justin is always listening in. Yeah, for sure. Okay, so yeah. Okay, well, I've passed on the information that I wanted to pass on. Is there anything that I need to comment on? Have I touched on something and not gone thoroughly enough? I mean, let's flesh this out. This is not a show. This is, this is communal. We are community. I think that we need to let's see, I just got a message from my sister and it sounds like something's not good. I think we need to flesh this out and get more serious about the nuts and bolts of what we are doing, right? And be very honest with the information. But that's gonna work both ways. All right. So if we were on an island, let's say we get shipwrecked on an island, and your survival is at stake, I think that a lot of the apprehension towards demanding information would go away if your survival is at stake. There, I said it. And where did that come from? It came from deep within. I have always been that guy. I've always been that guy. Boy Scouts, military, survival minded, life is about survival. The American culture is not as tough as it could be. I don't want to say they're soft, but they are not as tough as they need to be, on an individual basis. So I look at myself and I'm always looking for the weak spots. And, you may say, well, you can't type very good. Well, the business that I'm in, that's not an essential skill. It just isn't. I'm not in the creating information content, written content business that people pay me for, right? I'm not in that business. My primary business is production of proteins and carbohydrates. That is my primary. And there was times, just in recent history when we were making videos. My son Joe was, and those videos were getting 1 million views. And you have a video. Wow, congratulations! People would say you got 1 million views on that on Instagram and this and that, and I don't even have any of that stuff. And I'd say, whoa, 1 million views. You believe that? Can you believe that, you guys? Can you believe that? Who's going to buy me a beer here? It doesn't amount to anything. So I kept waiting to see the value in that. And I didn't. I didn't get invited to go on anybody's show. Justin Rhodes doesn't want to talk to me, and Joel Salatin don't want to talk to me, and they don't interview me anyway. He came on my show, but nobody cares. Honestly, nobody cares, right? My sisters don't even care, right? So I didn't see the value in that. Maybe I'm missing something, but I do see the value in the fences that I build because they keep the cows in. It's extreme value, in my world. Now, if I wasn't in this business, it would be different, I suppose. I wouldn't care about fences if I was on a shrimp boat down in the Gulf. But in the business that we are in as homesteaders, and according to YouTube, there's only 14 of you. I'd really like some input on that. Like if we were around the table, I'd say, does that sound real? Does that sound true? Give me some input here. Some of yous. Is that real? Is that what you see? Because I find that hard to believe. And I don't know why. I'm not saying that, well, this is damn good content. There should be more people that are lapping that up. But when I see, I know some of you here, and you're not just doing this to, make Mark feel good, show face and just say hi. And, but then I got to go because we're going to be watching Dancing with the Stars. It seems odd to me. It's just, my gut says something's wrong with that. Dion says, not an area I am versed to say it's accurate. It sounds like you're dancing around there, pal. You could at least humor me and say, yeah, it sounds like BS to me, Mark. It don't matter. The real thing is, and it's not all about T-bones. It's about I value to me. I had a guy, James Thornburg. He took one of our classes many years ago, like probably 3 years ago. Real quiet guy, Catholic. I remember because he went to mass on Sunday. I grew up Catholic, so that's kind of interesting. Thanks, Inga. You're one of my favorite women on here. You know what? And real quiet guy has come here probably 5 times, brings his family. They came for lunch one time when they got pigs. His wife's Canadian, real nice, the way some Canadian women can be. And just real nice kids, they look after each other. And, the oldest daughter is kind of, she bosses around the other kids just like she's a little mom, and I really enjoy their family. I enjoy a lot of the families that are in the tribe, but He sent me a text the other day and caught me at just the right time. I was sitting down thinking, "Ugh, I got to go to the house." And I got a ding. And I look at this text and it's a picture of a cow hanging up and the kids, his kids there. And he says, "Just did my first cow. Thanks for everything. Thanks for all the help, da, 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 all this stuff." And I replied to him, "It's been my honor. It's been my honor to see what this guy did, because we all know that it's pretty darn daunting to look at a live cow and think, well, my first step is to shoot that thing between the eyes. That is a tough go. And once the thing hits the ground, it's like, now the work begins." But he sent me a picture when the cow was hanging up, gutted, skinned, head off. So I knew that they had gotten themselves to a place where, extreme accomplishment, and people that don't listen to this podcast would say, nobody cares. It wouldn't be an accomplishment for them. So, but that I found value in that input back to me. I found value in that. It was like, that means something to me. That really means something to me. So anyway, yeah, Dion says that's where the wealth is, self-sufficiency. It is. Like, there's a lot of talk of hard times coming and war and civil war and things like that. And I hear all that stuff. Everybody hears that stuff, right? And it can put you in a state of fear, right? But if you can say, yeah, but I've got 4 pigs out there and they're pretty good size. And if I had to, I can eat a lot of bacon, when everybody else is starving, I've got a plan for self-sufficiency. Even though you may not be real good at it now, I can make it through there. I can do that, and with that mindset, it will lead to other things. So going at 2024, the mindset has got to be the mindset of, like my friend Clint Eastwood used to say, a man has to know his limitations. You do. You have to be honest with yourself about your limitations. And if you're not where you need to be, change it, fortify that position, get it squared away. And don't just talk about it, do it. So Jeremy's got something to say here, and I like to hear what Jeremy has to say. There's value in an audience, views for advertisement, not too tangible in a practical sense unless you are selling something. It sure does not get the pasture fence in. Are you saying I should start selling gold? No, you're not. I know what you're saying. Yeah, we're passing on real information. If not implemented, it has no value, right? If you don't implement it, it has no value. Oh, I think I sensed something good company here. Boy, I don't look so good with my glasses on. I need a haircut, don't I? 3510? Does that sound about right? Oh, I don't call it that anymore. You are trying successfully to change a culture which takes time and is hard to measure. It manifests itself in the success of others. That's exactly what I just said about James Thornburg and Dion Stumpo and the Declare Homestead. Not that Amy doesn't have something to do with this, I know, but Amy doesn't show up on here. I know she's probably listening, but the Thornburgs, who else? Zilkas. Yeah, you're right, Jeremy. When I see these guys succeed in a daunting task, I get a pretty good feeling about it. And I feel like, okay, we got There's one. There's one. There's one. All right. Two, that it may be one now, but they tell two, and they tell two, and they tell two. So good enough. I think we fleshed that out. I appreciate you all coming. I think that in the future, we're going to be looking at more of a referral basis for our Tribe Plus membership. I think Tribe Plus is going to mean something completely different coming up here, right? It's going to mean access. And access, I have found, is power. Access is power. So long as you're accessing something that provides you with an avenue to get where you want to go. And in our case, like you can go around saying, well, gee, I know Mark, but that's not going to help you when it's you against the environment that you're working in, because the environment that you're working in doesn't respect me. I got one for you, Chief. I worked with a guy by the name of Pete Wilhelmsen. I don't know if he's still around. He was a Vietnam era guy. When I worked with him, I was working part-time at the Aero Club on Yokota Air Base, taking care of puddle jumpers over there. And he was an AMP. He was a new AMP, and he was working there. I worked there first, and then he came in, and I kind of was training him. He was a chief. He ran quality assurance on Yokota Air Base, if you want to look him up. Pete Wilhelmsen. And he used to mentor me when we were working on puddle jumpers. And I know he was mentoring me, but he always talked about how he would motivate his men, the men that worked under him. He was an A-26 guy, believe it or not. He worked on A-26s in Vietnam, and he had a lot of great stories about him and stuff. And this was in 87. I came in 84, right? So this is 86, 87 that I worked with him. I knew him good, called him by his first name and everything. And as a two-striper and then a three-striper, actually talking to a chief, it's a whole different thing when you're in the military. I would see chiefs, and it would just be like the mouth would shut, and it would be, and none of them were mean or anything. It was just this awe. They called it awe of rank. That was another OPSEC thing, was awe of rank. Like some colonel calls you up and wants information from your duty section. You're not obliged to give it up if it's classified, but sometimes you might, because of awe of rank, like awe, But anyway, real good guy. And he would mentor me, and he would say, the struggle that you're in right now, and he wasn't talking to me, he was talking to his guys, but he was telling me how he mentored them, which he was really mentoring me. It's not against you and the branch chief or you and your immediate supervisor. It's against you and that airplane, and who's going to win. And he never failed. He was a very powerful guy, and he had the stripes to prove it. I learned so much from that guy. It'd really be nice to run into him some other time. He left the base before I did. Maybe you don't remember these long underwear that you used to be able to get. Flight crews had them. They call them Chinese underwear. I don't know if you ever had those. Like, I'm expecting you to respond to me, but he used to wear them. He used to wear them on the outside. You wouldn't wear it. You only wore it underneath your blouse correctly, or your uniform top. They called them blouses back then. That was BDU's days. But when we were off duty working at the Aero Club in civilian clothes, he would wear one. And when he left, he rotated to a base in Alaska. He was one of them 30-year chiefs, right? He was a 30-year chief. He left that. His Chinese underwear it was called. That's what they called them. I know, racist, right? Yep. Boy, if I could get my hands on one of those. But I had that until I made staff sergeant, which was my next base, and several years after that. I had that, and it had his name written in magic marker on, where your name would be on your uniform at the time. And when I left Yokota, it was just hanging there on the thing. I took it because it was Pete's and I wanted it, and he didn't care about it. It was just, you accumulate so many cold weather gear in the course of 20 years, like he could care less. But I don't really, it was his, it had his name on it, but I wore that and it had his name on it, Wilhelmsen. Right. Anyway, cool story. Those. Yeah. Yeah. You can still see them around Army Navy stores. I got to get me some. That was the best long underwear that they ever made. Too warm, in fact. Anyway, I can go down that road a long ways. I got to get going, though. Got to get me something to eat, get to bed, because I got a day ahead of me tomorrow that I can't wait to get to. I think next week, I want to talk to you about my list of goals for the year and goal setting and things like that. All stuff that I learned in the Air Force, but never implemented, not once. Setting goals, no. That was somebody else did that, and we just achieved them, right? But out here, I can set my own goals, and I can achieve them. And when I do, I get a burst of energy, and it makes life worth living. Okay, got to go. Appreciate you all coming by. And remember, anyone can farm.